Hello learners, welcome to our session today. I'm your instructor, CPA Aringo Frederick. So it's a continuation of what you were doing earlier on, and if you can recall, in our last session, we had looked at a method of inventory valuation, and specifically, we had talked of FIFO method. So in our class today, I want us to talk of number 2 element known as what? LIFO. I want us to talk of LIFO. This is last in, first out. Last in, first out. Method of inventory valuation. Method of inventory valuation. So basically, what you need to understand whenever we are talking of LIFO as a method of inventory valuation, we just be looking at a method whereby the items that came in last are the items that you are going to consider either in using them or disposing them first. It's not like FIFO. We had a concept of FIFO whereby you are talking of the items that came in first, the same items that you are going to dispose of first. But LIFO is the opposite. The items that came in last are the same items that you are going to dispose first. So basically, we normally say that LIFO, probably if you can take a note, we normally say that this is a method of inventory valuation. It's a method of inventory valuation based on the assumption that the goods purchased, it is a method of inventory valuation based on the assumption that the goods purchased, most recently, into bracket, last in, are sold or used first. I repeat, we've said method of inventory valuation based on the assumption that the goods purchased most recently, into bracket, the last in, are sold or used first, So we normally assume, use under this method, that the goods that came in first, meaning that the goods that are purchased, this is first, the goods are purchased first, or batch that came in first will that came in last, not first, that came in last will be issued out or used first. That's why we are terming it as what? LIFO. The goods that are purchased last, or the bag that is purchased last, will be issued or used out first. That's the concept of what? That's the concept of LIFO. So for us to understand this conceptual, after we've gone through that, I want us to handle an illustration question. This illustration question will give us a wider understanding on what you're supposed to do whenever we are dealing with LIFO as a method of inventory valuation. And this is a question that we are going to do. The same illustration that we used for yesterday, for our last session in regard to FIFO, is the same illustration that we are going to handle today in regard to LIFO. So looking at this illustration question, my good students, we are told that the following information relates to item Z, stocked by KPGN Products Limited for the month of April 2018. So I'm given our receipts, you are given our issues, and I'm having what? Units cost. So we are told that the closing balance for March 2018 was a batch of 3,000 units received at a unit price of 19 shillings. The closing balance for March 2018 was a batch of 3,000 units received at a unit price of 19 shillings. Required. Stores perpetual inventory record for items P003, that is for item Z, for April 2018, and a FIFO system of stores issues. So basically in this case, we don't want to use FIFO, but we'll assume that this one is what? This one is LIFO. We are going to take it as LIFO. We are going to take it as LIFO. So required will be stores perpetual inventory record for item for April 2018 under LIFO system of stores issues under LIFO. So here we are using LIFO, not FIFO. System of stores issues. Then part B, closing stock valuation. Closing stock valuation. Closing stock valuation. So given such a question, where are you going to start from? Where are you going to start from? Where are you going to start from? So given such a question, first thing that should always ring at the back of our mind is the concept of stores ledger card, of which we have that format already. We have that format now. So maybe I want us to work it out. We can work it out very quickly to see if we'll get the concept right. So this time around we are using LIFO. We are using LIFO as a method of inventory valuation. So after we've gone through that question together, I'll want us now to handle that question. I want us to use what? LIFO as a method of inventory valuation. So meaning that I need to come up with our stores ledger card. The same concept will remain to be the same, stores ledger card. Whenever we'll be having our stores ledger card, so this is our stores ledger card. Stores ledger card. So looking at our stores ledger card, this is what I'll be having. And this time round, remember we're using which method? LIFO. We are using LIFO as a method of inventory valuation. So this is what we will have. Of course, I'll be having our details here, or date. Then after having our details at that point, I'm going to consider our receipts here. We are going to consider our receipts at that point. In our receipts, ideally, I'll be looking at what? I'll be looking at our unit. So talk of units. I'll be looking at cost per unit. I'll be looking at amount here. The same concept will apply in regard to issues. So talk of issues. So on issues, the same concept. I'll be looking at our units here. I'll be talking of cost per unit, and I'll be talking of amount here. Then talk of our balance at this point. Talk of our balance here. So looking at our balance. I'll be having our balance here. So looking at our balance, the same concept, I'll be talking of our units, and I'll be talking of what? Our amount here. So this is our stores ledger card. So looking at our stores ledger card should guide us. Okay. So that is our stores ledger card. So we are talking of our units, cost per unit amount. We have units, cost per unit amount, then units and amount. So having that case, I need us to work out that question. The question that we just have it here. Let me share it again. So this is a question that we are required to do. So first thing first, I need to identify what was I given. What should we be having at first? So in regard to when it comes to our details here, we have our first April. 1st April, I was given a balance. And in that case, I was given a balance of how much? Look at this question. We are told that we had 3,000 units as at the beginning of the period, meaning that I should be having this case, I should be having as at the beginning of the period, I should be talking of 3,000 units. And each unit was valued at how much? The examiner had given me each unit was valued at 19 shillings. So 3,000 by 19, that should give us 57,000. That should give us amount 57,000. 57,000 at that point. So after we are done with that, going through the next component, what was I given? Identifying what I was given in the question, we are told that we had on April 3rd, we had receipts of 2,400. On April 3rd, we had a receipts of 2,400 valued at how much? 18 shillings. So I should be having 3rd April. So I'll come and have here 3rd April. On 3rd, we had the receipts. On 3rd, we had the receipts. On 3rd, we had the receipts. On 3rd, we had receipts of 2,400. And they are valued at how much? In our case, you are given, they are valued at a figure of how much? They were valued at 18 shillings. So you should be having 18. If work it out, that should give us how much? I should be having 2,400 by 18. 2,400 by 18 to give us 43,200. So I'm having 43,200, meaning that as at the end of 3rd, my balance in store in regard to the number of units, I'd be talking of 4,400, whereas when it comes to our value, I should be having 100,000, right? 200. That is what we should be having, 100,200. After we've talked of that, the next date given, we are given on 4th. On 4th, we had issues. So on 4th, I'm having issues of how many units? On 4th, for those who are taking a snap of the question, still I can share it here. On 4th, we had 2,000, or rather we had an issue of 3,200. On 4th, we had an issue of 3,200. So having an issue of 3,200, remember the concept here, we are dealing with what? LIFO. We are dealing with LIFO as a method. So I'm having 3,200, which I'm supposed to issue. And whenever I'm working out, whenever we are using this concept of LIFO, I'm going to consider the batch that came in last. The batch that came in last is a batch that I'm going to issue out first. Is a batch that you are going to issue out first. So looking at this question clearly, I can comfortably come and say that the batch that came in last, as that now I'm having 2,400. So I'm going to take that batch, 2,400, to issue out first. 2,400 I've issued out first, meaning that all the units for 3rd have cleared. Because in this case, I've issued out 2,400 units. I've cleared all that. What about the value of that? The value of that was valued at 18 shillings per unit. So you're done with that. So having that case, the question is, have we satisfied the demand of 3,200? We have not yet satisfied the demand of 3,200, meaning that I need to add the units. The remaining units, the balance should be, because my demand is 3,200 and I've only issued out 2,400. So my balance should be 800. The 800 will come from which batch? The next, or rather the previous batch. So I'm having 800 being our balance, so I should be having 800. But that 800 will come from which batch? This batch I've not yet utilized. The first batch on 1st April, I hadn't yet utilized. So I'll deduct 800 from there. So, and that batch came in with how much? 19 shillings. So comfortably, I can come and say, I've issued out the total number of units required, which is 3,200 units. And in this case, what about the value of the units that we've issued out? The value of the units that we've issued out, I should be having 2,400. We multiply by 18 to give us 43,200. So I'm going to have here 43,200. We are going to add how much? 800 by 19. 800 by 19. That should give us 15,200. So you should be having here 15,200. 15,200. So that as at the end of the day, if you can talk of the value of the items that have issued out, the values of the items that we've issued out, we should be having 15,200 plus 43,200 to give us a figure of 58,400. 58,400. If you had grasped the concept of FIFO, this one will be very easy because it's just a matter of us interchanging the process. So having that case, as at the end of fourth, the balance in store, the one that I should be having in store, I should be having how much in regard to the units. For units, I should be having 5,400, you deduct 3,200. So I'm going to have 5,400, we deduct 3,200 to give us a figure of 2,200. To give us a figure of 2,200. What about the amount? The amount I should be having 100, 200. We deduct 58,400 to give us a figure of 41,800. 41,800. That is our balance in store. That is our balance in store. So I'm done with that issue. I'm done with that issue on 4th. So the next date was when? The next transaction was conducted on which date? Coming through our question, if we were to look at our question here, the next date was on 6th. On 6th, we had issues, or rather we had receipts of 2,600. So my good student, the same concept will apply. I'm having issues, so this is on 6th. On 6th, I've seen, or rather we've seen, we have an issue of how much? 2,600 units. 2,600. Each unit was valued at how much? Each unit was valued. So this is on 6th. 2,600. Each unit in this case was valued at how much? Was valued at 20. So therefore I should be having my balance of how much? 2,600 by 20. 2,600 by 20, that should give us 52,000. If you are to talk the closing balance as at the end of that period, therefore I should be having how many units? The 2,200, the one that I had in store. The 2,200, the one that I had in store. I'm going to add 2,600 units. I'm going to add 2,600 units. Meaning that as at the end of the day, we'll be talking of how many units in store? 4,800. What about our value? Our value as at the end of 6, same concept will apply. I'm going to take 41,800. Because we had receipts, we are going to add. Because we had receipts, I'm going to add. So I should be having 52,000 plus 41,800, and that should give us a figure of roughly like how much? 93,800. That should give us a figure of 93,800. 93,800. 93,800. So we are done with that date. We are done with 6th. We are done with 6th. We are done with 6th. So going to the next date. The next date given, I was told we had what? 12th. On 12th, I'm having issues of 2,700. On 12th, I'm having issues of 2,700. So the same concept will apply. The same concept will apply. That will be simple because on 7th, or rather on 12th, I'm having issues. Issues of how many units? I'm given issues of 2,700. And remember, at this point, you're using what? LIFO method. So the batch that came in last is the batch that I'm going to consider first. The batch that came in last is a batch that we are going to consider first. So in this case, the batch that came in last was 2,600. So our requirement or the demand for that period, the one that I'm supposed to issue on 12th, we are given 2,700 units. That is the number of units that you are supposed to issue. And in this case, the last batch, we had 2,600. So I'm going to take all of that batch, 2,600 here. The 2,600, I'm going to take all of that batch, 2,600. Meaning that, in that case, I've utilized all of it, 2,600. We can close that completely. I don't have any balance on that. The question is, at this point, have I satisfied our demand? We have not yet satisfied our demand because the number of units required is 2,700. And the last batch, I only had 2,600, meaning that I'm going to remain with 100 units. I'm going to remain with 100 units, where are they going to come from? The 100 units, I'm going to consider the next batch. At this point, this batch, you've already cleared it. I don't have any balance. So the next batch to consider will be the one on first. So the 800, I'm going to deduct again 100 units. I'm going to deduct 100 units, this 100 units. So that as at the end of that period, I can talk of the total number of issues, 2,700. And that one, remember, came with how much? 19 shillings. The first opening balance, it came with 19 shillings. So therefore, confidently, I can come and determine now our values. I can come and determine our values. So therefore, I should be having 2,600. We multiply by 20 to give us 52,000. To give us 52,000. To give us 52,000. So I'm having 52,000 here. Then in this case, I should be having 1,800. So that as at the end of the day, we can talk of, how many units in stock. Or rather, the value that I've issued out. I should be having, this should give us 53. 900. 53. 900. The value that we've issued. So if we were to look at on 12, the balance in regard to the aspect of the units, I'm going to have the 4,800, yes. I've issued out 2,700, yes. So I've remained with 2,100 units. What about our value here? The value we had 93,800, yes. I've issued out goods worth 53,900. So therefore, I should be talking of 39,900. So the same concept applies. So within a few minutes, I want you to try this question clearly, then we compare our answers. So this is a question. So up to this point, you've reached on 12th. So I want you to continue to 14th. Give me up to the last one. 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 Then we continue. Right now, give me up to the last one, then we continue. I'm giving you like 2 minutes. Try to clear that. So I believe by now at least we've done something. By now we must have almost cleared it, so that we compare the answer with what Mwalimu has. So that we compare our answers with what Mwalimu has. So as you are clearing it, tuacha pia Mwalimu pia yeye ajaribu kuclear on his side. So on 12th we have done together. Talk of 14th. On 14th. On 14th, 3,000 by 22 to give us 66,000. 5,100 on 5,900. On 18th, 2,800 receipts by 21 to give us 58,800. 5,100 to give us 7,900 units. 164, 700. On 20th, we had an issue of 2,200. 2,200 at 21. Remove it from batch of 18. To give us how much? 2,100. 46,200. 5,700 balance remaining to give us 118. 500. Next date 22nd. 2,600. 23 receipt. 59,800. 8,300. 178,300. I believe we are doing it together, so we just be comparing our answers. Mwalimu ako karibu kumaliza. Hope you guys are also almost done with that. So on 25th, we had 25th we had issue of 3,800. So I'm going to take the figure to be considered on 25th. I should be having 2,600, all of it. The last batch was on 22nd. Valued at 23. And this batch had remained with 600. Valued at 21. 600 valued at 22. So total issue, I should be having 3,800. So that our value at this point, remember we are going to compare our answers, 59,800, 12,600, and 13,200 to give us a total of how much? To give us a total of 85,600. So that as at the end of the day, I should be talking of how many units? 4,500. And the balance in store, I should be having 92,700. So I'm on 25th. So maybe just comparing or rather elaborating on that bit. So I left you guys to continue from 12th, right? I left you guys to continue from 12th. So looking at that case, maybe just explaining it quickly. On 13th, we had a receipt. That was very simple. I'll just be taking a receipt of 3,000, we multiply by 22 to give us 66,000, right? I believe you've done it the same way. Then come to 18th, so that our balance will be having by the close of day 14th, I should be having 5,100 units on 5 value. In the same case, we had a receipt of 2,800. So the same concept, we should be having it here. Talk of 20th. On 20th, my good students, so did we had an issue of 2,200. But because I'm talking of LIFO, I'm going to consider the batch that came in last. And that batch was the batch of 18th. That's why you've taken the 2,200, because our demand, the issue was 2,200. So this batch was enough to satisfy that issue. So that's why you've taken the whole of it, 2,200, and the value of that was 21. So that I'm having 46,200. Come our balance, 7,900 minus 2,200 to give us the remaining units. Whereas in regard to the value, I should be having 164,700. We deduct 46,200 to give us how much? 118,500, the balance that we have remained with. So after we've considered that, come to 22nd. On 22nd, we had a receipt. So that will just be simple. We take the value, or the number of units times the cost per unit. We have that much. Then come to 25th. On 25th, my good students, we had an issue. We are supposed to issue 3,800 units. We are supposed to issue 3,800 units. And in issuing out 3,800, this is what we'll be considering. I'm having 2,600. This is the batch that came in last. So this wasn't enough. So I'm going to take all of it, meaning that we'll clear that completely. We are going to clear that completely. So clearing that completely, the next component will be, haven't yet satisfied our demand. I'll remain with roughly like 1,200. So come to this batch of 18th, I'd only issued 2,200, meaning that on this batch of 18th, I'd only remain with 600. So I'm going to take the whole 600 on that batch. So I'm having 600 by 21 to give us that much, that value. Then I've not yet satisfied our demand. Our demand was 3,800. I've only issued 2,600 and 600, meaning that the balance remaining was 600. So meaning that this one, I'm also done with the batch for 18th. I won't be having any balance. We are done with that. So the remaining 600, I'm going to consider the next batch. The next batch was on 14th. I'm going to take 600, so that in this case you have the total here. The value for that was 22. So I'm having 600 by 22 for us to have that. So that at the end of the day, I've issued out 3,800. Come to our balance, this is what the value of the issued. Then I'm having the balance as at the end of 25th, and we have that case. So that's why I noted, so long as you had gotten the concept right, the other ones will just be flowing. The other ones will just be flowing. So after we are done with that, considering the next date, which probably some of you have done it or you have cleared that, I'm having 26th, 27th, and 28th. In this case, we had receipts followed each other. So in simple terms, we can have it in this manner. We have 26. Let's just have it quickly because we also want to save our time. So I'll just be having on 26th, I'm having, we can have it as 26th here. We do have 26th, 27th, and 28th following each other. So on this, I'm having the number of units issued, 3,100. So I'm having 3,100. We do have 2,500, and we do have 3,200. Valued at how much? The first case, I'm giving the value on 26, that was at 24, 25, and 26 per unit. So clearing that, we can have a balance quickly. 3,100 by 24 should give us 74,400. Then the other one I should be having 2,500 by 25. That should give us how much? 62,500. Whereas 28 I should be having 3,200 by 26. That should give us how much, my good student? That should give us a figure of how much? 83,200. 83,200. So those are the figures that we do have. So comfortably, I can come and go straight to the balance. I can come and go straight to the balance. So looking at our balance as at the end of 26th, I should be having 4,500, the remaining balance for the previous day. We add the number of units that we've added, 3,100. That should give us a figure of how much? That should give us almost, that should give us 7,600. 7,000, that should give us a figure of 7,600, right? Then we are done with that number of units. So the next 27th, I should be having 7,600 plus 2,500. That should give us how much? That should give us how much? 7,600 plus 2,500. So having our calculator quickly, 7,600 plus 2,500. That should give us 10,100. And the last one, I should be having 10,100 plus what we've added here, 3,200, to give us 13,300. Talk of our value, my good students. 92,700. Yes, we add 74,400. We add 74,400 to give us 167,100. 167,100. What about the next one? 167,100. We add 62,500 to give us 29,600. The next one I should be having 229,600. We add 83,200 to give us how much? 312,800. 312,800. So we are done with that part. We are done with that part, and I believe also you are done that way. You are done that way. So come to the last date. What were we given in the last date? The last date given here, we were given how much? Come to our question here. On 29th, we had an issue of 6,900. So on 29th, we had an issue of how many units? We had an issue of 6,900. So where are you going to start from? This is also where you should also pay a very keen attention on. So in this case, on 29th, I need to issue out 6,900 units. Remember, our concept is what? Our concept is LIFO, last in, last out. So I'm going to consider the last batch. The last batch was this one, 3,200. So I'm going to issue out all of it, 3,200. So I'm having 3,200. That was valued at how much? 26. So that should give us the same figure of 83,200. But remember, we've not yet satisfied our demand. We've not yet satisfied our demand. Because our demand was 6,900, I've only issued 3,200, meaning that the balance is 3,700. 3,700. So in this case, I've issued all of this minus 3,200. This case, I'm having 2,500. I'm going to issue all of it. So 2,500. Valued at 25 to give us the same figure of 62,500. We've not yet satisfied our demand because still I'm having the remaining balance to be how much? So talk of 3,700 minus 2,500. So I'll remain with 1,200. So the 1,200 is going to come from which batch? Here. Here. So meaning that we are done with that batch. I'm done with that batch completely. So on 26th batch, I'm going to take the remaining balance, which was at 1,200 units. So I should be having 1,200 units at that point. Valued at how much? 24. So 1,200 by 24, that should give us how much? 1,200 by 24, that should give us 28,800. That should give us 28,800. So that comfortably clearing this case, I should be talking of 3,200, yes. We add to 500, we add 1,200 to give us the total units, 6,900. 6,900. What about our value? Our value there, I should be having 83,200. We add 62,500. We add 28,800 to give us 174,500. So I'm having 174 here. 500. 174,500. Closing now our day, closing our month. Closing our month, as at the end of that month, we can comfortably come and say the units that we have in store is 13,300. We deduct what we've issued. We deduct what we've issued, 6,900, to give us 6,400 units. So closing balance, 6,400 units, closing balance in regard to the units. What about our value? Our value should be having 312,800. We deduct how much? 174,500 to give us 138,300. 138,300. And I believe also as you are Dadani, the same figure you've arrived at. So if you are to look at our store's ledger card, as at the end of that month, the balance in store, we had 6,400. That is our valuation. Whereas in regard to the number of units, the value of these units, I'm having 138,300. And that is what the examiner wanted you to do if you are told to work out LIFO. If you are told to prepare a store's ledger card or valuation using what? LIFO method. But remember, that was not the end. Always ideal, even if you're not asked to determine that, it is always advisable for us to prepare our closing stock valuation. It is always advisable for us to prepare our closing stock valuation. Ideally, closing stock valuation will also act as your reconciliation. So, talk of closing stock valuation. Closing stock valuation. Closing stock valuation. How are we going to value our stores? How are you going to value our stocks? So, to value our stocks, this is what you're going to do. I'm going to look at our date. I remember that was a question that we were asked. So, just look at this question. We were told number B, to work out closing stock valuation. We are told to prepare closing stock valuation, and this is what you are doing. Closing stock valuation. So, working out closing stock valuation, this is what we'll be doing. I'm going to have our date. Having our date, we are going to consider the units that we had. If need be, you can add cost per unit. and talk of our amount, therefore talk of our amount as at the end of that period. So date, I'll be looking at where we had balance. So as you can see, we start from the beginning. The beginning of April, we had a balance because I'd only issued out how many units? That's why it's always very ideal or advisable for you to put the number of units that you've deducted. So in this case, we deducted 3,000, we had 3,000, tukaondoa 800, hii 800 tukatoa hapo, talk of the 800. Then again, we came and deducted, that was how much? 500. That was the aspect of, we deducted this figure here, 100. We deducted 100. So I'm having minus 100. So if we are to talk of the balance here, the balance here, I should be having the balance on 1st April. On 1st April, our balance that we had, I'm having 3,800 minus 800 minus 100 to give us a balance of 2,100. And each unit was valued at how much? On 1st? 19. So that should give us how much? 2,100 times 19 to give us a figure of 39,900. So we are done with that. What about the date that I'm having a balance again? Ilikuwa ni tarehe ngapi? So looking at that case, so we are done. That one we cleared on 4th. 6th we cleared on 14th. On 14th we had a balance. A balance of how much? A balance of how much? A balance of how much? On 14th we had 3,000, yes, but we only issued 600 out of that. So I'm having 2,400 units. So talk of 2,000. So this is 14th April. I'm having 2,400. Each unit on 14th was valued at how much? 22. So that should give us how much by 22? To give us 52,800. So we are done with that one. The next day that we had a balance, it was on 26th. So I'm having 26th here. On 26th, remember I'd issued how many units? 1,200 here. You see the 1,200, the one that we had deducted? So the remaining units on 26th, I should be having how many units? 3,100, yes, we deduct 1,200 to give us 1,900. And the value on that was 24 shillings per unit. So by 24 to give us 45,600. 45,600. So comfortably, I can come and do our valuation here. Closing stock valuation, indicating each day in the balance that we had. Indicating each day in the balance that we had. So having that case, our units, 2,100, yes. We add 2,400, yes. Then we add 1,900, good, to give us 6,400 units. To give us 6,400 units. What about our value? Our value should be having 39,900, yes. We add 52,800, yes. Then we add 45,600, good, to give us 138,300. To give us 138,300. So always make sure that what you have should always balance. Like in this case, you are required to work out closing valuation. So always make sure that it has balance with your store's ledger card. Always make sure that the figures that you have balance with the store's ledger card. Have balance with the store's ledger card. So like in our case here, you'll find that the number of units, 6,400. They have clearly balanced with what I'm having on the store's ledger card. Also, the value of the units, 138,300, have clearly balanced with what we have here, 138,300. So that is what you are required to do at any given point. You're working out LIFO, an aspect of closing stock valuation. So remember, you can do more assignments that you normally provide in our phone application, at least to assist you to grasp this concept very correctly. So to that juncture, my good students, I want you to meet me the next session where we will be handling the last component that we said we'll be handling, the aspect of the weighted average method as a form of inventory valuation method. Thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session. Thank you.